Alrighty, so in this video we're talking about Nyan, the Monster Association executive or Cadre, whatever translation you're going off of. He's pretty much like a Yonko commander. Like if Orochi was the Yonko of the One Punch Man world and the Monster Association is his crew, Nyan and the other executives would be the commanders. So Nyan is one of the more interesting executives because he only appears in the manga. Like him, Goketsu, and Elder Centipede are all exclusive to the manga, but on the other hand, the other executives like Evil Natural Water, Black S, Fear Ugly, Homeless Emperor, Gums, Overgrown Rover, they come from the webcomic's original story. So we, the hardcore fans, have known all about the other ones for a while now, since the webcomic has covered this stuff like a couple of years ago. But, that being said, we don't know much about Nyan, and at the time we didn't know much about Goketsu or Elder Centipede either. But Nyan is more prevalent in the story, and he's lasted much longer than those other characters. So the more information we get about him makes him all the more intriguing. And some of the information that we recently got was his origin story, surprisingly. Or should I say, what is implied to be his origin story? Because it's never outright said. We just get that panel of seeing the woman being overly loving to him and him not liking that at all. And that's the whole problem that he has with Puri Puri Prisoner. But this is another reason why I like One Punch Man so much, because it kind of just puts information out there and it lets you figure it out for yourself. It doesn't outright say it. It doesn't drop mad exposition on you to explain someone's backstory. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that, but I like both. I like having the mainstream shonens that will just have a character come out of nowhere and just drop a bomb of exposition on you about something. And then we have, other series like One Punch Man where it's more contextual based and it allows you to figure it out for yourself. So his implied origin story is that he was like a normal cat and he had an overbearing owner who pretty much tortured him with affection, and this caused him to become a monster. And this is one of the very rare examples in the series that we see non-humans becoming monsters. So there's other examples like the Grizzly Nyan monster from that bonus chapter where Saitama has that little girl with him. And then, of course, we have Overgrown Rover, who I assume was originally a dog. He doesn't seem to be a human. And there's other examples, too, throughout the series, but it's just really rare. So if we go back to what Dr. Genus has said about monsterification, sorry to anyone else who has heard me say this 1,000 times, but it's very important information, and I just need to keep reiterating it. So Dr. Genus says, when a human transforms into a monster, it is caused by an abnormal cell reaction triggered by an explosion of negative emotions. These stem from unsatisfied needs or the desire to change into someone else, particularly in those prone with vices or an inferiority complex. So this is just mainly for humans, but also in this explanation, he goes on to say, in addition, there are many cases where non-human life forms are transformed into monsters as a result of pollution and other factors. So this is one of those cases. As Nyan, it is implied that he was just a regular cat. So him becoming the monster is definitely a result of a cell reaction triggered by an explosion of negative emotions, because we saw that that's all that he had during his time with his owner. And also, the other thing that Dr. Genus says is that the desire to change into someone else. And that's exactly what Nyan wanted to. He wanted to change into a being capable of breaking free from his master and allowing him to live the life that he wanted. Because he further says that in chapter 105. He's like, I want to live the way I want to live. I want to fight who I want to fight. So I don't want to fight you, Puri Puri Prisoner, because you remind me of my owner. And I think this is all fascinating, the way that this is all tying together. It's pretty damn cool, even though this character is kind of subtle. And this also kind of gives us a clue as to why Nyan even joined the Monster Association in the first place. So we got the motivations for the other executives that I talked about, like Elder Centipede and Goketsu. We know Goketsu was just straight up abducted and fed monster cells, so that's why he is an executive. Elder Centipede is joining just for revenge on Blast. We can assume that they found Elder Centipede in the original Monster Association that was owned by the Subterraneans, because we saw that mural that had the Subterranean King with the two giant centipedes behind him, so we could assume that they found him down there, and they were like, yo, you get revenge on Blast. He was like, cool, I'll join. But Nyan, on the other hand, probably joined because
the overbearing owner probably made him hate humanity, I assume. The monsterification probably amplified his evilness, I'll say. And also, we all know that the Monster Association's goal is to pretty much have control of the world. More or less, that's pretty much what they want. They want monsters to roam free, even though they claim that sometimes that it's not the case, but that is. And we know that Nyan wants to live the life that he does, and does, as he chooses, naps all day and whatever else he wants to do, and this is pretty much falls in line with what the Monster Association wants as well. Nyan also seems to be more empathetic, possibly, than the other executives, simply because he actually seems to care somewhat about the prisoners. Like, he broke them out because he related to them. He knows that Puri Puri Prisoner was overbearing to them, similar to how his owner was to him, so he draws parallels to the prisoners in that sense. So that's why he's always kind of been having their back in a way, and has more of a camaraderie with them than what we have previously seen of the other monsters. Now, Goketsu was kind of like this. Like, he was reasoning with Bakuzan, and he wanted to show him, like, yo, you're kind of like my student now, in a way. So he kind of felt for Bakuzan. And this is kind of similar to how Nyan feels for the prisoners, although it's a much different dynamic. So now let's talk about how strong Nyan is. So apparently the transformation he underwent, or the abnormal cell reaction, was so significant that it made him disaster level dragon and gave him a human anthropomorphic-esque form. And this is not common, obviously. We don't see people or just beings in general in this world becoming dragons by transforming. So, typically we see them become wolves, tigers, and sometimes demons, but dragons is certainly out of the ordinary. So it hasn't been explained yet if Nyan just straight up became a dragon after transforming into a monster, or maybe he needed to train in order to become that strong, but regardless, he is a dragon and is an executive of the Monster Association, so he is incredibly powerful, and we do see that on display in Chapter 105 when he just makes quick work of Puri Puri Prisoner. So fast that the prisoner can't anticipate his attack, and he's strong enough to, significantly slash his body, almost to the point of where it seemed as though he might have been close to death. And it's also stated earlier in that chapter that Puri Puri Prisoner's skin is so thick and resilient that not even razor blades and things like that can pierce it. Just blades in general, but Nyan's claws are way stronger than that, evidently. So I guess this means Nyan is just an amplified version of a cat, pretty much. I don't think he really has any more abilities outside of that. I don't think he's going to be shooting any energy blasts or anything like that. I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe he could have some kind of transformation that allows him to do that, but so far it just seems like he's super fast, which I kind of anticipated because he looks kind of speedy, and cats are typically known to be fast. He has the super strong, sharp claws, and he also has the ability to squeeze in between cracks and stuff. Apparently he can fit in anything bigger than 3 millimeters. So this is kind of similar to cats, they do stuff like that. But Nyan is taking this to another world, of course, and becoming as thin as a phone, or maybe even thinner than that. But we're also seeing he's making such quick work of Puri Puri Prisoner that it's comparable to how Puri Puri Prisoner is taking care of demons. So it's really debatable how strong Prisoner is at this point. Maybe he's a low dragon, considering that he has become way more powerful since his fight with Deep Sea King, and we see that he's just murking these demons. So I'm assuming he's the highest demon, above demon, or maybe even low dragon at this point with his new pseudo upgrade that he's got, where his skin is more resilient. So the fact that Nyan can make such quick and easy work of someone as powerful as him possibly could mean that Nyan is a high dragon. Now, of course, we don't have nearly enough evidence to support this claim, but he is an executive after all, so I think that puts him at mid-dragon level at least. I really don't think there's any low dragons among the executives, because we have to remember that Hellfire and Gale, they were just executive candidates. And it was definitely known that they had monster forms, since Giro Giro was the one to give them the cells in the first place. And even they were not strong enough to be executives, but Nyan is, so I assume that he's got to be up there in the dragon scale, just based off of that. So that's pretty much everything we know about Nyan, I guess. So let me just say what I think is going to happen with him. I do think Puri Puri Prisoner is going to defeat this guy, or at least I certainly hope he does. I really didn't expect that Puri Puri Prisoner was going to get this far. I thought, you know, if he did run into Nyan, he was just going to get one-shotted like we saw, but I didn't know he was going to come back, and come back even stronger than that, and have even an advantage over Nyan, since his overbearing lovingness is like the weakness of Nyan, evidently, which I think is a pretty cool dynamic between these two. So yeah, I think all things point to Prisoner defeating him. I don't know if he's going to kill him necessarily, but I do think he will likely defeat him. If not, I'm really not sure what's going to happen after that point. But I will make a follow-up video to Nyan after we find out what's going to happen with him. I think likely it will transpire over chapter 106, maybe 107. But we'll see what happens. So that's pretty much it for the video today, guys. Let me know what you think about Nyan in the comments. Where do you think he's going? Who do you think is going to defeat him? And how strong do you think he is? And if you liked the video, please give it a like. I also have a Patreon. It gives you access to a Discord server and a Q&A video that I do on this channel every week. And if you haven't already, please subscribe as well. Have a great day, everyone. And I'll see you in the next one.